Math 7, Unit 2, Lesson 5, Part 2. Solving multiplication equations, examples. Solve each equation, verify the solution. X divided by 3 equals negative 6. Alright, so the original equation, I'm going to just copy it down because I don't really have a whole lot of room to work it out there. We're dealing with a fraction here, so we're going to want to use multiplication. This is just x divided by 3. We undo a divide by 3 with a multiply by 3. You'll notice that since I'm dealing with fractions, I'm going to put it over 1. The 3 on top and bottom reduce. I just get 1x. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. I get an answer, x equals negative 18. Then I check my solution. Okay, for checking your solution, you'll have x over 3 equals negative 6. But you'll replace the x with the answer we got, negative 18. So negative 18 over 3 equals negative 6. Well, negative divide positive is negative, so the negative checks out. And 18 divided by 3 does equal 6. So that does check out as being the correct answer. Okay, let's look at the next one. 18 equals negative 4y. On this, we need to get the y by itself. So we need to get rid of that negative 4. The way to change a negative 4 to a 1 is to divide it by itself. So we're going to divide it by a negative 4. And since we do it on one side, we've got to do it on the other. So we divide both sides by negative 4. Here, negative 4 divided by negative 4 reduces to 1. We get y by itself. 18 divided by negative 4 is negative 4.5, negative 4.5. So we get our answer. Next, we check our solution. We rewrite the original problem. In place of y, we're going to put our answer negative 4.5. So here it says 18 equals negative 4 times negative 4.5. Well, negative times negative is positive, and 4 times 4.5 is, well, one decimal place, 18. This does check out to be correct. Okay, next example. Negative 4/5 times x equals negative 8. I'm going to start by copying it down so that I have room on both sides to do things. I am dealing with a fraction here, so I'm going to want to use multiplication. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of negative 4/5, which is negative 5/4. I'm going to throw parentheses around this so that I don't think I'm subtracting. Okay, negative 5 times negative 4 is 20. 4 times 5 is 20. This is 20/20ths. This all reduces away to 1. So this is 1x. And negative 8 divided by negative 5/4, I'm going to deal with it as a fraction. Negative 8 times 5 is 40. 1 times 4 is 4. 40/4 is just 10, so I'm going to reduce it to 10. And I get my answer, x equals 10. Next, we're going to check our solution. So negative 4/5 times the answer, x equals negative 8. And in place of x, I'm going to put 10. Now, since I'm dealing with fractions, I'm going to treat that 10 as a 10 over 1. Now, negative 4 times 10 is negative 40. 1 times 5 is 5. Negative 40 over 5 equals negative 8. That's true, because 40 divided by 5 is 8, and the negative makes both of them negative. Okay, next example. 2/3 of b equals negative 4. Since I'm dealing with a fraction, I'm going to want to use multiplication to get rid of the number multiplied by b. Here it'll be 3/2. Now 3 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. So all of this reduces away to 1. We get 1b. Negative 4 times 3/2. I'm going to treat this as a fraction. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And then divided by 1 times 2 is 2. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. So I get an answer. b is negative 6. Then we're going to check our solution. We got, well, that was kind of weird. Let me try that again. 2/3 of b. I don't know what b is, so I'm going to leave it as, well, I do actually know what b is, but I take the b out and I'm going to replace it with -6. So since I'm dealing with fractions, I'm going to treat this as a fraction. 2 times -6 is -12. Then that's going to be over 3 equals -4. That, of course, is true. Okay, example 238. -2.2a equals -132. On this, I'm going to want to divide both sides by -2.2. And then a equals, on a calculator, you'd want to do -132 divided by 2.2, and it does come out to be 60. So we get a equals 60. Next, we check our solution. We're going to do -2.2 times 60 equals -132. Okay, if you multiply this out on a calculator, it does come out to be -132. So that is the correct solution. Okay, 2 1/3 w equals 9. First, when we're dealing with fractions with multiplication or division, we do not want to have mixed numbers. So we're going to do 2 times 3 plus 1 is 7. This is 7/3 w equals 9. Okay, we've got to get rid of a fraction. When dealing with fractions, we're going to want to use multiplication instead of division. So we're going to multiply by 3/7. Okay, right here, 3/7 times 7/3 reduces away to 1. So this is w equals, I'm going to put the 9 over 1. 9 times 3 is 27. 1 times 7 is 7. So 27/7. It doesn't reduce. I could change it to 3 6/7, but not necessarily necessary. Next, we go to checking our solution. We've got 2 1/3 times our answer, 27/7, equals 9. Now you could type that in on the calculator. I'm just going to do it by hand though. 2 1/3 is 7/3 times 27/7. I can do a little bit of reducing here. The 7 over the 7 reduces, and the 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So this gives 1 times 9 on top, 1 times 1 on bottom. 9 equals 1. That is, or 9 equals 9 is true. So that is the correct solution. And let's just look at a couple more examples real quick. X divided by 5 equals -2, because this is kind of looks like a fraction. Generally speaking, we'll use multiplication. And right here, we're dividing by 5, so we want to multiply by 5. The 5 divide 5 is 1. -2 times 5 is -10. We get an answer of -10. Next, we check our solution. We're going to do x over 5 equals -2. And in place of x, we're going to put -10. So -10 divided by 5 is -2. That's true. -2 does equal -2. Okay, next example. The opposite of a is -24. Now on this one, you can actually learn a new strategy from here. We could get rid of this negative by realizing it's a -1. And then we can multiply -1 times -1 or divide it by -1 in order to get rid of it. This will give us positive 1a, or just a. And then negative divide negative is positive. So I get a equals 24. Now the thing that we can learn here as a shortcut is that you can change the signs on both sides. That's just dividing or multiplying by -1. If I do that, I started out with -a equals -24. Changing the signs on both sides gives me a equals 24. So you can treat that as a doable step. We do want to check our solution here real quick. So we're going to do the opposite of the answer, equals negative 24. And the answer we got was 24. So the opposite of 24 equals negative 24. That, of course, is true. Let's look at our next example. 3 equals negative 1.5n. We're going to want to divide by negative 1.5. And that gives us n by itself. And 3 divided by negative 1.5 is negative 2. So our answer is n equals negative 2. And then we need to check our solution. So 3 equals negative 1. That didn't draw very well. Let me start over. 3 equals negative 1.5 times n, which is negative 2. Negative 1.5 times negative 2. Negative times negative is positive. 1.5 times 2 is 3. So we do get 3 equals 3 here, which is correct. Okay, a couple of situation problems here in the notes. A rectangular classroom has a length of 32.5 feet and an area of 796.25 square feet. Write and solve an equation to determine the width of the classroom. Okay, a really helpful thing here would be to draw a picture of this classroom. It says it's 32.5 feet in length. The width we don't know, so let's call that W. So the width of the classroom is our unknown. Width of the classroom will make it equal to W. It also tells us in this problem that the area of the classroom is 796.25 square feet. So I'm going to put that in my drawing. Now this drawing gives us all the information we need. Now remember, when you are doing area, area is length times width. So this is 32.5 times the width, and that will equal the area. Let me see, I started drawing the wrong number there. 796.25. Okay, that is the setup. Now we move on to solving. In order to get the W by itself, we need to divide by the 32.5. And this does give us, reducing to 1, W equals 796.25 divided by 32.5. Now I recommend dividing that using a calculator. And I get 24.5. So it equals 24.5. Now we need to answer this with a simple sentence. 24.5 is the answer. That means feet. So we would say the classroom is 24.5 feet wide. And that would be our complete sentence that answers the question. Next example. 1/3 of Duchesne County's population is in the Roosevelt area. The Roosevelt area has about 6,700 people. Write and solve an equation to determine the population of Duchesne County. All right, population of Duchesne County is going to be our unknown. Let's use a D for the population of Duchesne County. So D equals population of Duchesne County. It says that 1/3 of Duchesne County, that's 1/3 times D. That's 1/3 of Duchesne County. That's how many people live in Roosevelt. Well, we're given that number, 6,700. So the 1/3 of the population of Duchesne County equals 6,700. We're going to get rid of 1/3, because it's a fraction, we want to use multiplication. We're going to multiply it by 3/1. Over here, it reduces nicely to 1. We get 1D equals 6,700 times 3 is 20,100. So we do get an answer, and we need to write a quick little sentence describing our answer. Because it is 20,100. I would say the population, let me drag that up here. The population of Duchesne, let's just say the population is 20,100 people. The population is 20,100 people. Okay, next. The equation ax equals 7 has the solution x equals 3. Determine the value of a that satisfies these conditions. All right, on this one, this is one of the more cognitively complex problems, but actually it's not a difficult one. It's one of the easier ones. You need to understand that the solution can be plugged into the problem to make it true. So in place of x, I'm going to plug in 3. So a times 3 equals 7. Well, I'm going to rewrite that as just 3a equals 7. Okay, so 3 times a number is 7, and that would be our answer. Now, if it's not immediately obvious what that would be, that's fine. You should recognize that this is an equation that can be solved. We would divide both sides by 3. This gives us 1 here, and a would be 7/3. So the answer to this problem, what value of a makes the equation have the answer x equals 3? Well, that value would be 7/3, which means that if I solved 7/3 x equals 7, the answer would be 3. And actually, if we check it real quick, that is true. 7 does equal 7 when we reduce there. Okay, in the assignment, let's take a look through. We'll go ahead and do a couple of problems here in the video. So number 1, solve the equation, check your solution. Let's go ahead and do letter G. -4/9 f equals -3. Because it is a fraction, we're going to want to consider using multiplication. Let's multiply both sides by -9/4. That is the reciprocal of -4/9. Right here, these are gone. They make 1. So we get 1f, and that equals -3 times 9 is 27. -3 times -9 is 27. 1 times 4 is 4. 27/4. 27 is 3 times 9, and 4 is, of course, 4. There aren't any common factors we can reduce. We could change it to -6 3/4, or positive 6.75 would be an acceptable answer as well. And then when we check our solution, I'm going to leave it as a fraction because I think it'll make this step easier. So -4/9 times f, f being 27/4, is supposed to equal -3. Okay, let's see, we can actually reduce the 4's. We get -1/1. 27/9 is divided both by 9, we get 3/1. So -1 times 3 is -3, and 1 times 1 is 1. So -3/1 does equal -3. That checks out just fine. Number 2, write an equation to model the situation, then solve, express answer as complete sentence. Now, let's take a look at part C. A school has an election. 3/4 of the students vote. There are 1,464 ballots. How many students attend the school? So the number of students would be our unknown. So let's use an S to mean the number of students. Now it tells us that there were 1,464 ballots. Ballots are filled out votes. So we're going to say that 3/4 of the students equals 1,464. This is the setup for the problem. Next, move on to solving. I'll go ahead and change colors here. Because I'm dealing with fractions, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of it. This gives 1s, and that equals 1952 is what you get when you multiply those. So we do get 1,952 students. Then we answer in a complete sentence. I'm just going to say there are 1,952 students attending the school, but that's a complete sentence. I'll go with that. There are 1,952 students. Okay, continuing the preview of the assignment. Number 3, you're going to simplify. Looks like you have to use the distributive property. Number 4, area and perimeter. Area, you can count up the boxes. Perimeter, you need to do a walk around the shape, counting up all the sides until you're done with the whole shape, etc. Number 5, write and solve an equation to find the unknown height. The area is, on A, the area of the triangle is 12 square centimeters. The height is unknown. The base is 6. Well, let's go ahead and set this one up and solve it. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 times 6 times h, and that's going to equal 12. Well, 1/2 times 6 we can simplify down to 3. This is 3 times the height equals 12. If we divide both sides by 3, we find out the height is equal to 4 centimeters in this case. So the height is 4 centimeters. On number 6, the mode. You need to remember that mode is the most often occurring number. It's the one that happens most often. Number 7, you're going to set up and solve an equation here to find out how many more days it will take to reach your destination. I do give a hint here. You're probably going to want to make a variable, maybe x, equal to how much you go in one day, the daily amount of the drive. This one actually is a little bit more cognitively complex because you do not want to set the equation up with the days to reach your destination as your variable, because you're not going to be able to come up with a good way of writing that equation. And then number 8, you're just giving some examples of inverse operations. For example, turning on a light and turning it off would be inverse operations. And in math, you can be specific here. Adding 1 and subtracting 1 is a good example.